Welcome back to day 4 of our journey to 1500 ELO on chess.com. Let's just jump straight into the browser and look for a game. So yesterday we got to 1250 rating points after a pretty comfortable win, and then we are facing a 1300 opponent again today, so this might get interesting. As per usual, we are going for the Sicilian defense, which is this move in response to this move. And our opponent is playing something called the Alpine Sicilian defense. I think this move is supposed to be one of the main moves in this position. So we'll go ahead and play this. This move, by the way, is supposed to prepare for this move, so that our opponent can get a strong pawn center. I think after this move we are supposed to play like this, moving our knight over here, and then repositioning it over here potentially. Right now I'm looking at a move like... I think we are supposed to take this pawn, to be honest. So let's just do that. He's probably going to take, and this pawn is going to be a target for us going forwards here. So I think we'll go ahead and target it straight away, like this. I'm currently slightly out of my comfort zone because I'm not super familiar with this Alpine variation of the Sicilian defense, but we'll just improvise and go along with what happens in the game. I think this might be a decent move to try and poke at his pawn center, and he can't really push this pawn to defend his pawn with a second pawn either. So we'll go like this, and I think in the case of a capture, I think we just capture with our queen. And if he doesn't capture, I think we might actually capture ourselves, and he might have a slightly overextended pawn here. Although we will have to calculate what happens. Okay, so he plays his bishop out. Is this a blunder? This is a check, and he's probably going to block it like this to defend here. After which we can just take with this knight and target his queen. If he takes here, we take like this. And then he's probably going to move like this, and he can't actually move like that because then we fork him. I think this is going to be the critical move here to punish his bishop move. And let's see how he responds. This is probably going to be his move to try and salvage this position. He might try to block otherwise, or in an alternative manner, but then we just take the bishop, I think. This is slightly awkward in regards to getting castled this game, because we're at least 3 moves away from castling by first moving a pawn, then our bishop, and then our king. But if we get a piece advantage here and win his bishop, then we should probably still be in a decent spot, I think. I guess our opponent is calculating what happens after this and this. In this position, he can just play this move and it comes with a check, right? But as we calculated, he doesn't win the trade that follows. We take like this as planned. He takes here and we take his bishop. And if he takes here, then we fork his king and his rook. So here is maybe going to try to pin our knight. That's kind of an awkward move to deal with, but I think we can maybe take his queen in response. So if he goes here, we take, he takes, and we can maybe pick up a pawn on the way out. That might be the best move. Either way, we are going to be up at least some material in this position, I think. I'll have to think about a better approach to the position after this move, which is a slightly awkward move to deal with. He could also try to pin with his queen here. And then what would we play? If he plays here, or he plays like this, okay, then we will calculate this line. Do we have any other tactical solution? On the one hand, we could ignore the knight because we are up a piece, but we can't generate a strong threat, I think, by doing so. This was what we were calculating. And then we pick up this pawn like this. This is a pretty critical position, so we're probably going to have to spend some time to look at this. But let's go for this, I think. This is probably the best move. Although I might have overlooked something, but we'll have to see afterwards. This will disallow castling, but I think he might just castle immediately. Then he could apply pretty decent pressure to us, because we are still far from castled ourselves. I'm looking at this move just to deny him any castling if he doesn't castle immediately, but it depends on whether his move creates a threat or not. So we are currently up one minor piece as well as one pawn. So if we play this solidly, I think we should have a pretty comfortable position. Straight off the bat, I really want to play some kind of move that gets our king to safety down here. But this knight is seeming kind of stranded. I'm looking at this move to allow any knight move onto this diagonal. Or we might play this move. This will disallow his rooks from targeting our knight. And it's also going to occupy a lot of important squares. Then we could also reposition along this diagonal here and potentially remaneuver into this powerful position over here. We could take this pawn, but I think that's too slow. This move can be met by a knight move like this, after which I think we just move like this. We just have to move here and preserve our time as well as our material advantage. We have to be careful as well, I think, not to move our rook here and pin our knight if this bishop gets dislodged. This is a pretty good move by him because it's going to open up this attack. But I think we could drop our bishop back and it's going to be defended by this pawn. Or we could actually block with this bishop, which might be scary because it's a pin. So we'll have to calculate this as we go forwards, but I think we have to capture here either way. We'll do this, and he's probably going to move this rook over here. After moving our bishop over here, we have to be careful about this move, as well as this move. Straight off the bat, we still have this pawn up, defending here. But we might not do so for a long time, or have that pawn rather. His rook just came over here like we expected it to. And I'm thinking of moving our king rather over here. It's seeming kind of scary, but it's going to allow easier development, I think. As long as he doesn't get to double up on this file. But we could just get out of the way and get a rook over here to threaten a trade. He does not want a trade at all at this point because he's down a piece. I think this is awkward after the knight move over here, so I think this is probably going to be the better move. This is a pretty double-edged position as our king's safety is compromised, but we'll have to try to do our best to defend. If we defend this attack, then we are probably going to win the game. Right now our main priority in this position is to trade pieces. That's going to kill off his attack and further, or rather increase our advantage. Because as we get less and less pieces each, our material advantage is going to be more and more felt. Straight off the bat here, he loses his rook, it seems, and then he resigns because he notices his mistake. So here we just won our 4th game in a row against Pawn Monkeys. Thank you a lot for the game, Pawn Monkeys. And let's jump into the game review. So today we played with an accuracy of 95.8 and our opponent played with an accuracy of 81.0. This is a 2nd game in a row with a really high accuracy from us, but it's probably just because of the length of the game, I am pretty sure, it seems like. Yeah, because typically speaking the accuracy isn't this high, but it's got to be because of the length of the game, I think, because book moves I think give 100% accuracy. Yeah, I think so. Let's just jump straight into the game review at least, and we went into a Sicilian. I knew about this move here, but I didn't quite know how to follow up, so I'm curious as to which move would have been best here. I watched a Daniel Nereditsky speedrun not too long ago, which mentioned this knight remaneuver here. So we went for this, and he went like this. Apparently the capture was best. Typically speaking, as far as I'm aware, you're supposed to capture with this pawn when white pushes to d4 in the Sicilian. And we went out with our knight targeting here. He went out with his knight, and we threatened this. Here he made a mistake, and we found this move. At this point I thought we had a larger advantage than what we did, but apparently it was only -0, -1 rather. I'll turn on the evaluation on the side so to make it easier to see. He took our knight, and we retook, and here he played this move. Apparently taking with the pawn was better. I'm kind of curious as to why, because in this position, yeah, because he could block with his bishop, and then this is no longer a fork, leaving us only up one pawn. Okay, but he played differently and played out with his bishop, and then we took and traded queens. We took this pawn, and he castled. Here we moved our bishop out. What was apparently moving the knight back was slightly better, but the moves seem to be pretty similar in style. There is a slight difference in how good the moves were. He took here and we retook. Apparently we should have ignored his capture. The computer seems to like this knight retreating move here, probably because it's in a vulnerable spot, I think, or because it's going to target his bishop after moving. I thought we might just leave the knight here for the time being and get our king to safety and develop, because he cannot really attack our knight with our bishop on this diagonal. He checked us, we moved up, which was the best move. We looked at moves like this and this, but the pins seemed awkward, especially after this kind of a move. Or he could have played something like this, but I think this was probably going to be awkward. This also seemed awkward, because we couldn't really castle, because then it would have taken our piece, and we would have had to move up here afterwards either way to move out of the pin, so we just did so immediately. He moved his rook here, after which he resigned immediately, because we would have taken his rook, and then he would have moved his rook here and been down quite a lot of material. It would have been difficult for him to continue the game, but he might have had some drawing chances in the scenario, in a scenario where we misplayed. Either way, we won today as well, making this 4 consecutive wins in a row, and this leaves us approximately 200 rating points away from our goal of this journey. So thank you all for watching to the end of today's episode, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Goodbye!